I would like to call to order the Wednesday, May 18th, Palm Springs Public Arts Commission meeting. And Jay, do you want to do the roll?
Thank you. Commissioner Lesniak.
Here, present.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Here.
Commissioner Newkirk.
Here.
Commissioner Favreau.
Here.
Vice Chair Pritchard.
Here.
Chair Merrigan.
Here.
Okay, we have our full quorum.
Can I ask for an acceptance of the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have one change to the agenda, if I may.
Sure.
Under item G, items for discussion and approval, item 3 and item 4 should be combined because it's one draft agreement, not two separate ones. So I'd request that under number 3, after the agreement Palm Springs Art Museum at the Palm Springs International Airport and Palm Springs Convention Center, and eliminate item number 4.
Okay, that's great. Is that fine, Jay?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you,
okay.
Vice Chair.
And you have a change to that amount on 6, right?
Commissioner Pritchard, was there a change on that one?
Well, I had requested that we have an artist or a bench place there. So I've got actually 3 options. So we could just discuss that on the item number.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so do we have a second with those changes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So now is the time that we set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within subject matter jurisdiction of the commission, and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it can generally not take any actions on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned for each speaker. So do we have any public comment?
Looks as if Mr. Adam Lerner has public comment, Madam Chair.
Sure, I just wanted to introduce myself.
Thank you.
So I'm Adam Lerner, and I'm the director of the Palm Springs Art Museum. And I want to say that I feel like I've been remiss in meeting all of you. It's really important to me to be a good neighbor and a good civic participant. And I look forward to being able to just seeing how it is that the art museum can work with the city more, and just the more we can do to make a better city and to make a better region. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, that's great. Adam, would you mind staying until we talk about your item? Because then maybe
Sure.
we have a couple questions. I definitely have a question for you.
Of course.
That could be exciting.
Okay.
Awesome. So thank you so much for that. It's great to meet you. I met you in January, so it has been a while. It's gone by really fast. So next we have our minutes, and Jay sent out an updated minute for December. So does anyone have any changes to the minutes, additions?
Yes, on the minutes that we got from Jay this afternoon, they still have the incorrect spelling of Madalena's name under item E, remarks from the chair. They have her as Magdalena. It's actually Madalena, M-A-D-A-L-I-N-A. So that should be corrected. Other than that, I have no issues with either minutes. Unless anybody else does, I'll make a motion to approve them.
I would note Commissioner Favreau let me know there was also another typo in the spelling of her name. I just haven't found the spot for that. So that change will also be made.
Right.
I just want to say one thing. I think the minutes, this format of them is great. So it's kind of different from the other ones we approved. I think they're short and sweet, but actually really get to the point of everything we talked about. So I think they're great.
All right, so then I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of our Wednesday, November 17th, 2021 meeting and our Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 meeting.
So do we have a second?
I second that motion. I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Actually, I have one question for you guys. Since Adam is staying, would you mind if we moved up the museum items to item 1?
No, let's do that.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody? Can we make that?
Fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, okay, cool. Is that all right, Jay?
Sure.
Even though we already approved the agenda, we've kind of moved things around sometimes. Do you want another vote?
We can do that, Madam Chair.
Okay.
On the acceptance of the agenda.
Yes, we move item 3/4, now 3 to item 1.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so back to, F, remarks from the chair. So I really want to thank all of you for your patience with me with my family issues that have popped up now on 2 continents since I last talked to you. So hopefully things are getting better, but it's been a very stressful time for me with everything going on. So I really appreciate you guys taking the lead and moving forward and being patient, and I really and being respectful of this time that I've had to deal with my family. So I really thank you very much. And with that, I have gone through the meeting, the city council meeting and our last meeting. And I don't know if any of you guys listened to the city council meeting on commissions that they had last week, I guess it was. So it's online. If you haven't listened to it, definitely do so. So I kind of wanted to start out and give us a big pat on the back because we've done everything the city asked us to do this year. And we did so in less than 12 months. And we worked through our whole work plan, and we've completed our work plan, basically. So we gave the city council asked us for work plan in October. In September, we gave it to them in October. And we've passed our, gone through our maintenance issues with the collection. We have put that out to bid. We made changes to our ordinance, which still have not been sent to City Council. We are working through our collection to provide recommendations on deaccessioning and removal and replacement, updating our yearly maintenance contract. We have recreated our neighborhood grant program, which was one of our measures of priorities. We created the program for our social issues installation, which was sent to council but was not approved. And then we have asked council to continue to reintroduce the sponsorship of commissions, so council members would be more in tune or on the same, so we could all be on the same page with the priorities of the city and the priorities of the Public Arts Commission. But it doesn't, I don't think they're going to do that if you listened to the meeting. So they did express in the meeting that there is a lack of communication between the commissions and the City Council, and needing to rectify that. How they rectify that, though, is still up in the air. So either it's quarterly meetings or a yearly meeting or a lunch or a dinner, or maybe this council members will come to some of our meetings. There were a lot of things that were thrown out there, but no decision was made. And then one of the items that I really had hoped that we could accomplish, but it's completely out of our hands, is having our items, which we're going to talk about in the, how to send things to City Council, having our items not be on the consent agenda. So a lot of things that get on the consent agenda that we send can kind of go to a slow death at council, because we cannot be there and give a presentation on the item. And I really think that, in the past, we were able to do that, right? Like we would go to council, we would either talk in public comment, but more often than not, we gave a presentation of the item that we wanted council to approve. And we had that working relationship that worked really well. At some point, I don't know if it was COVID or changing of the guard at council, changing of the guard in city. Also, the council has so many things to deal with. They want to put things on the consent agenda so they're easier to approve. So that is one item I've talked to the city manager, to city staff about, but it's not going to be rectified. So I think our items will probably a lot of times be on the consent agenda. So when we talk later on in the meeting on how to strategize on getting things approved, maybe we can come up with a better plan on that item. So that is some info on that. So I really want to thank you guys for all of the work we've done. I know it's because the city is trying to make all these changes with commissions and how they work, and things are slow, but we have done a lot of work this year. It's just a lot of things are in the pipeline, still to go to council for approval. At the end of the meeting, the city manager did say to council that we have our ordinance changes completed and we really wanted them to review them. But it was kind of an open-ended sentence. There was no, yes, we'll review them. It was just a statement of fact that he made. So hopefully he had promised me that once they got through the boards and commissions work, that our ordinance changes would be up for council to consider. So hopefully that was supposed to be in March. So hopefully it will be sooner than later, but it definitely has slowed down our ability to do work. But what has really slowed down our ability to get things approved, I think, is mixed messages and communication. So, you know, not hearing back about our matrix priorities, like what was the feedback back from council, and us just working on them throughout the year, and not always knowing like where the wind is blowing with having things approved. So I really thank you guys for your patience. And I have a feeling, you know, there's no changes right now, but I have a feeling it's going to take months for them to get back to us on how they want to update, you know, all of the commissions in the city, because I think it's 16 commissions. It's a lot of work. So we're kind of just in the same space that we've been in the whole year at the moment, with no news on any front on that. So on that note, our maintenance contract is going to go out to bid on Friday, that we approved in January. So Barrett and Matthew volunteered to be our representatives on that RFP. So then they're supposed to start reaching out to us. So we'll let you know about that. And then one other thing to think about is whether you guys want to have a July meeting. So prior to last year, we didn't meet in July or August, mostly because some of the commissioners went away for the summer. But we met last year because we wanted to really jump on our ordinance changes and line up our work for the year. If you guys could think about if you want to meet in July, in August, and let us know. In a way, you know, I wish, and maybe the city manager will do this, I wish the city would, you know, communicate with the commissions, like when is the end, you know, when is their idea of all of these new rules and everything coming into play? So we kind of have some idea, we're not in limbo. And I do think it will take a few months. So since we have so much work that's kind of in a backlog that needs to get approved, you might think of taking time if you're on vacation and just doing work over the summer and not necessarily having all the meetings. So think about that. And then the election for chair and vice chair will be is supposed to be in July. So we could have just a quick voting meeting for whoever wants to run for chair and vice chair. And then if you guys could let us know who's interested and think about, you know, if you want to run, that would be great.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Aren't the elections done in June?
No, it was done in June last year because Anne had quit. And so they had to replace her immediately. So that's why it was in June. I checked with Jay. So whatever from the city's clerk's office, it's July.
Can I interrupt with a question?
Sure.
Can we just vote now on meeting in July?
Well, we can, yeah, I mean, we don't have to vote on it.
Well,
we could vote.
Well, excuse me, but don't we always meet in July? August is the month we don't.
No, we never met in July except for last year. So I'm just putting it out there for you guys to think about, depending on your schedule and stuff.
All right, well, why don't we do that in our next meeting and get back onto our agenda?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that people know to think about who's going to run for chair and vice chair. So I had promised I would do it for a year to help us get back on track with everything the city wanted to do. And we've done that. We've done all of our part on that. So, so you guys think of who wants to run and let Jay and I know. Okay, so those are my remarks. So the next item is the agreement for the loans from the Art Museum. And I had sent this information to the city attorney a really long time ago. It took all this time to get this done and updated. So I'm glad we're finally on track with an actual contract that the city has. We didn't have the old contract. So you guys have it. It's for it's for the same amount of pieces that we have. I had talked to the museum about switching them out, and they just didn't really have the bandwidth at the time to do so. But since Adam is here, it would be great if we could poke him to say, wouldn't it be great if we could rethink the art at the airport and switch it out maybe sooner than later, or start talking about it?
Yeah, so you would like to, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what other commissioners think. I know the art's been there for a long time, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily like a cohesive idea. I don't think it was really, I wasn't here back then, but it doesn't look like, the piece at the convention center, I think, was kind of placed really well, but the other art, we could, rethink all of the airport, since now that they've updated the airport as well, right? It's like a different place than when the art was originally placed. Oh, Adam, do you want to? So I was putting that question to you.
No, okay, yeah, thanks. I really am open to how we can basically get our collection more into the community. And as a long-term vision, that's certainly something that I'm really interested in as well. To like, why should things be in storage when they can be out in the community, right? And we want to be able to be like, generous that way. And I would say that I feel like when it comes to rotation of art, what we could do is, as far as the bandwidth for that, we would just have to schedule it out, and so we can put it into our workflow to be able to schedule a time. And I would probably want to include some conversations to really understand what the goals are, like what what you'd like, and then I would just say that yeah, but we're very much open to it. I think the only question is, and I think this is something that might be addressed later on, is just that typically whenever, just how we work is that whenever we loan objects, it's customary that the borrower pays for the shipping of the works back and forth. And I would say that would just be like, if you have a budget for the installation, for the shipping of it, then we would have the staff to be able to, I think, unless it's complicated installation, it would require not us to bring in other staff, but we could use our staff at your at our expense.
Yeah, it's something we could definitely, that could be our chip in, right? Like we could pay for the shipping and then just kind of build it into a budget ever so many years or something like that. Like maybe sign this do this contract and then not necessarily keep it for 5 years, but maybe in the meantime, we could talk about, some maybe it relates to what you're doing at the museum for the year, or maybe it relates to some kind of conversation you're trying to start, or we're trying to start together. Because I love airport art, actually. It can be really exciting, but especially not when it's static and it just is always, the same art is always there. Or, so yeah, we definitely could put a budget. We definitely can budget shipping costs or deinstallation or whatever it costs.
Great. And is there an opportunity outside of this public meeting to be able to have to get together and just get our heads together on like what would be the best concept, for about how much art, where do we want to put it, timing, so when do we want to do the installation, the rotation, and then duration, how long we want it to be up. If there's a time where we could, get together about that, that'd be great. And then just to figure out who needs to be at that meeting on your end and on my end, that's really the things that we would have to do.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. That would be exciting. And it's a good way of jump starting our relationship with the museum, because we did a lot of programming with you until COVID happened. And then the museum was shut down. And so we're all starting our because we did a lot of things on Thursday nights. So we're all kind of coming back to.
Great. Well, we just hired a new Chief Education and Community Engagement Officer just this week. And so we'll be able to be more equipped to be able to deal with these kinds of outreach type of programming efforts. And I do look forward to be able to coordinate with you. It's exciting what you're doing very close to the museum, and I want to know how we can start to make those two really dovetail with each other.
Awesome.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, being that this agreement is not time sensitive, so why do we not skip agreeing to this draft proposal of this agreement now and establish with Adam 2 members of the commission that will sit down with him to review the work that is there and what possible work we could switch out, and bring that to us in our next meeting, whether it's June or July, given how much time we would need, rather than agreeing that this stuff stays, that's 5 years, and having to scrap that and redo it. Because there's no.
Because we don't have an agreement that's valid anymore, so we do need to put an agreement together because we have all of their art, and it doesn't mean that we'd have to.
Why does it have to be done this month, and can it be done next month when we say, okay, we're going to take these 2 pieces out of this collection and switch them out with these 2, and this is what we'll make the loan agreement for? Well,
because we will have to bring this to the airport commission as well. And it's just not going to happen in a month. Unless Adam thinks so, but I don't think there's the bandwidth to have those decisions made within a month. I think it's a longer term thing that we think about, a strategy for it. It's going to take more than a month or 2. And we kind of can't leave the artwork that's in our possession in limbo anymore.
But has it not already been in limbo for a few years?
Yeah, but the museum is also wants to have this contract.
I could if it's on our team, it's basically we've got our director of collections is very cooperative, and also really wants everything to be in order. So therefore she doesn't like to have something that's undecided, which is very, very great to have in an employee, but it can be a little bit irritating in situations like this when you want, but it's sometimes helpful to kick the can down the road a little bit. And I would say this is that I'm okay to leave things vague if for a little bit longer to be able to get this. I don't mind that. If on your end, you want for a little bit longer, if you want to resolve this immediately on your end, then I would say that let's go ahead and resolve it. But I can actually from our end, I think that we can continue the arrangements, and I can manage it on my side.
Yeah, like us approving this tonight doesn't preclude doing the other, right? It just helps get everybody's paperwork in order.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't mean we can't replace the pieces. It just means the paperwork is in order to have it done.
Okay, great.
So I would say, Russell, we should approve it because it's not going to make any difference if we change. And then it will get, because this also probably has to go to the airport commission, it will get that ball rolling, right? So there's already a ball rolling in that court. Okay. So it'll be easier if we switch the art out.
Right. Okay, then unless any other commissioners have questions, I'm ready to make a motion.
Go for it.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the draft agreement for loan of artwork from the Palm Springs Art Museum at the Palm Springs International Airport and the Palm Springs Convention Center.
So do we have a second?
I second that motion.
And do we have any other comments or questions? So let's take a vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great. So so that is approved. So what I think is going to happen now, Jay can correct me, is that it might go to the museum to have it signed, and then it probably will go to the airport commission and then city council.
Possibly airport commission first, just to make sure they're okay with this. And I would suspect they may even ask, you know, what are the opportunities for rotating the artwork, and explaining to them that this is just to get everything in order, that the Arts Commission also is interested in doing such a rotation, that, you know, it would kick off that discussion, Madam Chair, as you said.
Yeah, because they, I read that they just hired the new director of the airport too, and that was kind of what we had been talking to the airport about, doing more art there. But since they're, you know, then that director left, and they were very interested in that. Then the director left, and they've had someone temporary who didn't have the bandwidth. So this is kind of a good way of restarting that too, because the airport commission, maybe not in the first conversations, but then quickly thereafter, we have to involve them in that. So this could be a really good thing.
And then, if I may, I would like to volunteer to connect with Adam about discussing future changes out of the art, and hopefully one other commissioner would also like to do this. And if Jay can share my email, and if there's another commissioner with Adam, then we could sit down and have a meeting to discuss what would happen going forward.
Yeah, and I will work on that as well with you.
All right.
So I thank you, Adam, so much for coming. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
and hopefully this is the brand new beginning of our work with the museum. So that's exciting.
I really look forward to that. Thank you. Thank you for being so kind to me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening.
You
too. Okay, so so discussion on submitting proposals to City Council. So I did talk about a couple of those things in my remarks. And the one other thing I wanted to throw out there was, you know, we started having this problem last year with things, you know, the council kind of changing how they were approving things for us. So I put together that kind of sheet to write up, like, what for a proposal that we could send to council, so they could actually see our idea in our words written down as a proposal, and give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down before we got too far down the road. But as of the moment, they never see our proposal, right? It just gets rewritten into city language, which makes sense, right? But I had hoped like our proposal could be an attachment, it could be part of the meeting packet. Since things are on the consent agenda, so we don't get to talk about them. But that obviously has, there's a flaw in that as well. That hasn't necessarily worked to our complete benefit. So I'm just throwing it out to you guys on what ideas you have. If you guys listened to the meeting on boards and commissions, if you have any feedback on that with how we should send things to council. So what does everybody think?
I want to jump in because I've been experiencing this, particularly it started with the Culturally Strong mural, and I was communicating with Jay when he presented it, and unfortunately for Jay, a council member did not express another project they were working on. So it's not that they disapproved it, they just didn't even vote on it. They said, let's put it aside. As a follow-up to that, Russell sent a note to Councilman Christy Holstage and Councilman Dennis Woods, saying, hey, we heard about your concerns. We were the ones working on this. Can we have a meeting and find out about this Wayfinder thing and how we can work better together? After a couple of weeks, we didn't get a response. And then I sent a follow-up email 3 weeks later, and Councilman Holstage immediately replied. And she said, I have everything I need. You guys are doing a great job. Don't worry, everything's good. And I'm like, well, that's nice to hear. We still have not heard from Councilman Woods, and he was the one who sort of stopped it, but that's beside the point. Prior to that, as you recall, I mentioned at our last meeting, and Tracy, you were not here. I had a meeting with about the North Riverside Eco Art Walk idea, and I had a meeting with Teresa, the new assistant city manager. And she sort of gave me a preview in the meeting of some of the ways that city council was going to be changing how communication or commissions operate and what they would be wanting to do. And they knew there were communication problems with city council members. She suggested that it's not unheard of for us to then approach individual city council members with the germ of an idea to gauge their interest. Not a fully formed idea. Don't go too far down the road. And it's just a way to say, where does this fall within your priority list? And she said, they don't want us to be doing a lot of work on something, even though it sounds great and we have the budget for it, if it's not within city council's priority list. Yeah. And I said, no, okay, I got that. And so I said, can I reach out to Mayor Middleton because this Eco Art Walk is in her district. It's, District 5. And she said, absolutely, reach out to her on that. So as an aside, the asphalt art thing that I submitted and sent around, Russell and I sent a note to Lisa Middleton and said, we think this is great because in your State of the City meeting, you talked about safety and consumer safety and road safety as a priority for Mayor Middleton. And we said, here's this thing. And it was the same document that I sent around. And I said, here's this idea. Bloomberg Philanthropies is sponsoring it. We think there's something here for the Public Arts Commission, but we don't want to pursue it if you don't think the city will embrace it. We understand this is not an approval. This is just a discussion point. And she immediately replied, just said, yes, let's have a meeting about this. So we're sort of making an inroad in getting, hey, this is just an idea we're working on. And the thing I would suggest is that we don't go too far down the conceptualization of it. And, and Tracy and I were talking before you went away of, we need to, as a commission, we need to workshop these ideas. We need to, bring the concept to each other. We're meant to be a commission where we each have expertise and we help each other develop it. It's not take it all the way down and here's the piece of art I want to do, here's who I want it to be, and here's the artist. Because then it's basically, we're just a jury. We're not really helping each other. And so I made that very clear to Teresa when I spoke to her. I said, we just have this idea. It's an Eco Art Walk. We don't know how the art's going to be. We don't know where it is. We want to make sure that this is something we can do. And she said, yes. So the latest on the Eco Art Walk is Jeannie from the Parks and Commission was in the meeting with Teresa and I. And so Jeannie has me now presenting this to the Parks Commission on Monday. And again, it's not, we don't even have the art. We just want to know if you guys are interested. You know, I don't like when other commissions make our priorities for us. And I have been very clear, I don't want to make their priorities for them. But I've said that, you know, that we will take the lead on it. We will write the presentation up. We just want to know that Parks is interested and it has your blessing. And then at that point, we will then go to the sustainability. And again, this is just sort of pulling as many players involved, and it's really workshopping the idea. And I think if my recommendation is that we do that approach with every proposal. You know, just don't come up with this full-blown idea of everything, and here's what it's going to look like. Let's just make sure that the stakeholders buy off on the concept. And the stakeholders include other commissions, and they include city council members. In terms of approaching the city council members, one thing that was clear in the new commission overview that they voted on was the only people that should be approaching the council members are either a chair or a vice chair. They don't want to make sure that too many people aren't doing things, which is why Russell and I reached out, because you were away, and Russell obviously was involved in this. So as I said, so far we've had success with this approach. Nothing's been approved yet, but we also haven't had any roadblocks, if that helps.
Yeah, because when you did everybody listen to that meeting, the boards and commission council meeting?
I read the document. I didn't see the meeting. I read I read staff members' recommendations. Yeah,
because I think maybe just getting the bug in their ear like this, because you listen to them talk about the commissions and they're so divorced from any of the work that anyone is doing in the city, even though they have our minutes and everything. It really just never, it kind of shocks me. And so getting one, it used to be, we had council members that were interested in artwork and we saw them a lot, right? So, I think a lot of it can be COVID related too. Like we would see them around town and see them at events and things. So you could say, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I want to do this project, do that project. And then they'd be interested, right? They wouldn't be like not interested. So yeah, maybe, it just is Brown Act stuff too. Like that's one of the reasons, we can't have tons of people talking to people is because of Brown Act rules. So I think when they talked about this exact subject at that meeting the other night, they said they wanted communication to go through staff. So they might have changed their mind on the reaching out to city council members, but they're, they're our representatives too, right? So I think it's good to engage them as much as possible so that they're not surprised by things that come on the consent agenda.
And that of course only works so that staff like Jay isn't put off when a council member has an initiative that they haven't shared with staff.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of communication issues from council, like not, telling, they haven't gotten back, I don't think, to other commissions either, like on what their proposals were for the year. So I think they asked us to do them. So I really think they should get back to us on all of them and not say in a council meeting that we don't have a plan when we gave a plan, right? So it's this back and forth and you're like, oh my God, we already did all this stuff for you guys. So, how do we get this? We have talked all year. I have said the thing, not to promise artists or not to promise people that we can get their project done because it has to go to council until the council says it's a go. There's no money on the table or any promise of any project.
I would like to add something. I actually agree with what Gary is describing as our approach because, and I'm going to be using our old protocol this evening, but I think for us to spend a lot of time creating a proposal, knowing that the money is coming from a different source. If there's no interest from them, we should know that in advance.
Yeah.
And to inform them and sort of gauge their interest and their support is important to us in pursuing any kind of proposal. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, because it's, you know, they used to be interested in everything that we did, right? Like they were excited about it, but it's a different council now. So, yeah, it's a different way of working with a different council. So, and I don't want to see people spend all, you know, if you think of, you know, we spent all this time like on that maintenance contract and everything, and we voted on it in January, right? So, you know, it's finally going out to bid on Friday, but, you know, a lot of, you know, I don't want people to have to work so much on things and not know that there's going to be an approval at the end of the rainbow. So maybe then, you know, do this verbal thing, you know, engagement thing, and maybe we send them a list, right? Like these are the things that we, you know, these are our ideas for the year, and maybe we vote on something in June and send it to them as, you know, can you give us feedback on, you know, we want to do this project, we want to do this project, we want to do this project. And not even necessarily have a number on it and just say, are you interested in these ideas? And then, you know, think about it over, you know, the summer, or get back to us, you know, before September and let us know where we're at. Because we're kind of in a limbo. It's not just us, it's the other commissions waiting for them to give us all this feedback on how they want the commissions to work and where they want them, you know, because they might say with this new, you know, way of looking at commissions, they might say, we just want you to work on this, this, and this, that's it. But we have no idea. We're kind of in limbo.
And may I make a suggestion just to sort of wrap up this discussion? That I think it's a good idea, as Gary pointed out, when we have a particular project, chair or vice chair with one of the commissioners who is starting a project, to reach out to our mayor or the city council member that's within the district with a specific idea of what we're doing, an approximate budget. Make sure that we have the interest. Then when we come to us voting on it, something we have a preconceived or pre-information that there is some buy-in through part of the council, and that could direct us to have things just sent to the consent calendar with the full information of meetings we've had and the discussions that we've had, and would probably direct us more for complete approval on the consent calendar. Or if we have from Jay, if we have the authority to just have an item that we've voted on and say that we would like this to be on non-consent calendar for city council, then just do the two-prong method of approach.
I would add to that, Russell, is that I think it's, and again, I can't stress this enough, I don't think we should go with at the very first time they're hearing about it, with this completely fully baked proposal. It's just, I think it should be a concept. And that what that does is it enables everyone to have input into it.
No, I agree with that 100%, but a concept with some parameters.
Yes, exactly. But let's not say it's going to be this artist in this medium and this. It's here's what we're thinking. This is the tone. Is this of interest? And then they could say yes or no, and then we don't go down this road pricing out what a specific artist is going to do.
Yeah, because
I wouldn't even give them a price in a way, just a concept.
Yeah.
Because if they're into the idea, it kind of doesn't matter what it costs.
Right. Because as a very specific example as to what we're talking about right now, item number 6 on our discussion approval is the purchase of Fossils of the Future by E. Tyler Burton. And we know that we have council support of that. So that's something that when we vote on it today, it can go straight to the consent calendar, because we know that council will approve it.
Yeah, because Dennis Woods lives in that neighborhood and he's the one that wants it.
But there's been that pre-discussion with a council member and that their thoughts have been relayed to us. So
yeah, the one thing, no, I totally agree with that, Russell. The one thing I wouldn't set our hopes on, because I've had multiple discussions with the city manager about it, is our items are not, rarely would they not be on a consent agenda, because the reason is the city council just has too much stuff to do in each meeting. So that's why things are relegated to the council consent agenda, because they just don't have the time to have things be other items. So,
so if we follow the path we're now setting out, then we will have things hammered out enough that we can be confident that it can go to the consent calendar.
So what do you guys think of an idea of, so continue doing this work that you guys are doing, right, that you say is bearing fruit. And then what if we came up with, everybody through not a sentence, but like a little bit of a, I don't know, an idea. We vote on them and we vote on, I don't know, 5 or 10 ideas in June and send that to council as, things that we want to start working on for the next year. And at least that's also, in their pipeline. So what do you think of that? Versus, just talking to them, they're gone in August, so they won't be around. Just so there is a document out there that says, hey, we want to work on these things. So if you hear from us, right, like this is what it will be about.
I'm going to be a little indelicate here. And we have 5 city council members. 2 of them are not returning.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I would not want to say and feel that we have a set agenda that by the time we roll along, there will be new viewpoints and they will be complete and accurate viewpoints.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, my recommendation is have an idea, sort of workshop it with the other commissioners. And then when we think something is feasible and is solid enough, we put it through at that point. But I would hate to say, yeah, this is what we feel strong with now in June. And then in 3 months, it'll be just not supported.
Yeah, because we'll have no idea what that's true. We have no idea what the new council members.
I agree. For the time being, I think we just need to do project by project and lay it out as we've been discussing. So if we can all sort of agree on that as a moving forward, then perhaps we can move on our agenda.
So does anyone else have any other thought? Or have we finished it? Okay, cool. So it seems like we have a plan in place. So Russell, do you want to talk about which was item 2? Proposed donation.
Well, I can talk briefly about it. I've been in touch with Hugh Wakeham, who's working with the family of Steve Mahoney's widow and family about a possible donation to the city of Palm Springs, but he's not come forward with any specific, this is the piece that we want to donate. So I don't know why this is on the agenda, because it's not, I have no information to offer other than I've had one brief conversation with him. I'm waiting for more information from him or the Maloney family.
So maybe we just throw it out to the commission that Steve Maloney's family wants to donate a sculpture to the city. And he was on the board of the Palm Springs Art Museum and passed away. And since council wants most of our work to happen within our meeting, we should let everybody know about that, and then see what you guys, does anyone have any yays or nays or strong feelings like, no, we wouldn't want to accept a piece of art, or talk about, you know, would they maybe want it in a certain place, or is, you know, we're looking for a certain piece that could go in a certain place. Does anyone want to throw anything out like that? Any discussion? Think it's a good idea? Think it's a bad idea? Want to hear about it more later?
I think we need some more information about the piece.
Well, yeah, I'll just lay out that, well, two things. I'm a fan of Steve Maloney's art, because I think it's got good political message and it's really creative artwork. So I think we as a commission should certainly proceed with the discussion, and I'll reach out to Hugh tomorrow and find out where the family is, if they've identified specifically what piece they would like us to consider, or if there's 2 or 3, then we can move forward. But we have really no information to base any decision
Maybe
on.
ask him if he'd come to the June meeting.
Well, I'll reach out to him and just see where the family is and report back to you and to Jay and determine if that should be an item for June.
So would you guys be interested in accepting a piece of art, the rest of the commission?
I'd have to see the art, but in theory, sure.
But in theory, yeah, just kind of in theory, accepting art from.
There's no downside.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the only downside is maintenance and installing it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, what's the piece, and you know.
And then council obviously would have to approve it. Okay, great. So item 5, approve contract extension with Tyson to extend bench repair for additional $5,000. I would change that item, or in whatever proposals, I would add cleaning into that.
Cleaning is already in that.
Bench repair contract?
Yeah. Yeah, all of the work. And Jay, you did send the files that Tyson last sent of all of the benches that he repaired and cleaned to all of the commissioners?
No, we didn't see that.
Okay, I thought I had sent them out, but I can put them on the screen also.
Yeah, because just to recap, Tyson is now doing all of the work necessary to the benches, cleaning them, refreshing the art, repairing the art, removing graffiti, keeping them in absolutely spectacular condition. So we've been doing him basically at $5,000 every 6 months, which is less than $1,000 a month. And so what I propose is that we continue this or extend his contract through the end of December. And then for our November meeting, we'll have Tyson prepare a status report of all of the benches and start working on ones that we can address to either have the original artist refresh or redo, or phase some of them out and have them be redone. But this would carry us to the end of this year, keeping the benches as pristine as you're seeing these benches scroll through, clean, everything is, there's a picture of them actually cleaning a bench. The next one is probably a slide where it's still being cleaned, and then it will end up being pristine. And all of this like miscellaneous tagging, stickers, all of this crap is, he's totally on top of keeping them in excellent condition. And we should continue to that.
So then question for you, Russell. So if this is working out this way, is there a need to follow up with the cleaning company at the moment, or just we should just continue on this path until like November and then
Yeah, in my opinion, no, there is not, because number one, if we venture down the cleaning path, that has to be something that would go out to bid. And then we would be paying 2 people to do something that Tyson is already doing: cleaning, maintaining, restoring, refreshing the art, keeping the benches looking in almost as original condition. So we should just stay with him through the end of this year and have him do a status report on any benches that you think are at a point that they just simply need to be completely redone. So that's my opinion.
So maybe we just add that in, right? That he would give us that status report, maybe, because we've, you know, I think this would save us a lot of time this way versus, you know, dealing with questions from the city on getting someone and not finding someone, and it's easier for us to.
Yeah, this is really a no-brainer. He's keeping them in pristine condition. He's now been doing this since what, 2019? It's now 2022, so.
So Matthew, what do you think of that? Because you were going to bring a contractor. What do you think of if we just move forward with this for now and revisit it like in November?
It's fine. I have a question though. Is anybody supervising him to make sure he's doing the benches that need to be done? Is anybody looking at the benches from the commission to say, hey, these benches need to be done? Is anybody doing that?
No, Tyson is doing it.
Okay.
If you want to appoint yourself as a person to inspect all of it.
I'm not asking that. I'm just asking, thus far, has anybody been doing that? Or has it all been on Tyson just to do what he needs to do?
It's all on Tyson. He sends before and after pictures to Cindy Carnes in the city manager's office with his invoice for the month, the number of hours, number of benches with pictures before and after. And he looks after all of the benches downtown.
And then I think like when there's, you know, someone sends a message to Cindy, she reaches out, or I've gotten messages and I've sent them to Russell because Russell's been managing his contract. So that's kind of how things have happened.
Well, yeah, and clearly there's really, I mean, I certainly don't have the time to every week go down and inspect every bench. So we have to rely on the public, city staff workers, whomever. If you see a bench that's got something wrong with it, send me an email.
We have a hand raised also in the.
Yeah, Shonda has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out from Russell if there was a way to get Tyson to service the benches that are on the North Palm Springs, or is it only the contract for only the ones downtown?
No, it's for all of the benches that we've done. So if there's, and I'll certainly make sure that he goes over there to inspect all of the benches and even the utility boxes.
Yeah, that would be a tremendous help because I know the Section 14 bench is under a tree and it needs to be cleaned.
Yeah, I'll send Tyson an email directly.
Alrighty, thank you. I appreciate it.
And one thing we should double check is Stacy told me that she would add public arts to the app for the public making any maintenance, you know, reporting maintenance issues to the city. So people could also go through that app, and then she said she would send them on to Tyson. So that's another route. And I know Joy has called Tyson too about benches. So
yeah, there's actually a lot of eyes on the benches. So I don't think too many slip through. So unless any other comments, could I make a motion?
Yes.
All right, I would like to make an motion that we extend the contract with Tyson Night Productions for bench repair and cleaning through the end of December 31st, 2022, with a status report on all benches due to us in November of 2022 for the amount of $5,000, not to exceed $5,000, pardon me.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? Okay, thank you. All right, so now we are on to item 6, fossils of the future. Do you want to take that away, Russell?
Yes, so hopefully everyone has had a chance to see the installation in person, look at the photos that Jay sent around, and a copy of the invoice from Tyler Burton. So this installation was done as a temporary piece in June of 2021. With a sort of a vague period of time, it was 1 to 2 years. But knowing that there was interest from Councilman Woods and there's been interest from me to make this a permanent installation. So my offer is that we do complete the purchase for $10,000. The piece was priced at $15,000. We paid $5,000 as the rental, which gets deducted from the purchase price. So the balance is $10,000. And I had at the request of, originally wanted to request that we earmark $1,000 to do an artist bench on site, because I know Dennis Woods is also, Councilman Woods is interested in there being a bench there, which I tried to get the city to place a year ago, but all of that has fallen on deaf ears. So I want to offer as the second part of this to do a bench. And Jay, if you have the mock-up that Tyler Burton sent, we could do one of 3 things. This is a mock-up of a bench that Tyler Burton would do at a cost of $2,000. So little mini totems with a plank of reclaimed wood. We can do an artist bench that we pay $1,000 for any particular artist, with the provision that they don't do any design that competes with the artwork, which is a concern of the artist Tyler Burton. Or we could do option 3, which would be to pay Tyson Knight $500 to prep and paint and seal a bench in a color that would work with the environment, that would be complementary, but not in any way compete with the art installation. So we can spend $500, $1,000, or $2,000. In addition to the $10,000 to purchase the art piece.
I have a question. Instead of having a plank going across the 2, can we just have 3 of the pillars with possibly a round stool on each of them?
Oh, that's a good idea.
So the emphasis still remains on the pillars as opposed to the, because that to me destroys, it's a piece of art.
Yeah.
And it destroys the piece of art, that plank going across the 2.
Well, actually, if I may, I'll say what my preference is: city bench, $500, Tyson. Because that way it's the very solid, heavy bench. It's placed there. You're not looking at the bench, you're looking at the art.
Yeah.
I sort of agree with that, Russell. I think this bench here, it's already going to compete with the column that's already there.
It does.
And I'm going to third that. I think that this looks like a brand extension of the existing art. You know, I'd like to keep the focus on the art, and the bench should be there in a utilitarian way, because I'd hate for people to sit on these, you know, these pieces. If this is art, do we really want people to be sitting on it? And then I don't want them to think they can sort of do whatever they want on the actual totem. So I would keep it as completely separate.
Perfect. So then would the commissioners be willing to enter the motion that we do the purchase for $10,000 with E. Tyler Burton, and earmark $500 to do with Tyson Knight to prep, paint, and seal a bench in a solid color that would just blend with the surrounding and not compete with the artwork?
Yes.
I know we talked to Stacy about having a bench there, and I don't remember what her feedback was. Was it that
the lack of desire to do it?
No, there was some reasoning behind it. My one thing with paying Tyson to paint a bench and then seal it and everything and have, you know, it might be a good idea just to have the city buy some kind of bench, right? That doesn't need maintenance.
Well, yeah, but the city already has the benches that are downtown. They're heavy, they're solid.
Yeah, but aren't they kind of, haven't they used them all up? Like, I mean, it might have been that she told me they just didn't have a bench that was possible to move. Like they didn't have an extra one. Like they don't want to like be moving benches around anymore because when they do, people complain and people want like bench, you know, certain people want benches in front of certain businesses.
There's probably about 30 benches behind the convention center. Sure, certainly they could pick one of those up and move it. But I don't want to stall this debate about a bench because it's, I mean, it's a pretty cut and dry thing. It's like, I just want to get this done.
Yeah, but that might end up holding it up, right? Like I would maybe do it as a second item and not have it attached.
All right. Let's just approve the purchase of the piece and skip the bench. It's been there for a year without the bench. I know Councilman Woods wants a bench there. I thought if we voted for a bench, he might have some influence on city staff to actually put a bench there, whereas we don't.
Well, it's up to everybody. So whatever everybody thinks. If you guys,
I heard three commissioners agree to the $500 Tyson option.
So make that motion and we'll see how it goes.
All right. I would like to make a motion that we purchase Fossils of the Future from E. Tyler Burton, located on city-owned property at the corner of Bracket Club and Leonard, in the amount of $10,000, and that we earmark purchase $500 for Tyson Knight to paint, seal a city bench that would be placed by city staff on site.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
And is there any more discussion?
Can we put a plaque on the bench that says it's provided by the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission?
No.
Okay.
Russell, I don't mean to kick a dead horse, but I know that everybody else agreed that a Tyson bench, but I kind of liked the artist's bench, but without a piece of reclaimed wood. If it was cement and it was all like a cement bench with the two pillars at the bottom, I don't see it conflicting. That's my own personal opinion. I just thought it would be a really nice meditative space to keep all of that coherent. But if the other commissioners think it'd be easier just to get a city bench and plop it down, I'm sure we can make that happen sooner than later. But I'd like to go on record saying I'd like the artist bench better.
All right.
With adjustments.
So are we ready for a vote?
Sure, all in favor?
Aye.
Gary, Barrett, Barrett, are you a yay?
Yeah, there's 4 in favor, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'm going to vote no because I don't think we should do the bench. So, because it's a really beautiful spot, and I think the design of the bench is really important for there, and I think the city benches just do not go with that environment. So thank you very much, Russell. So that passes. Item 7. So is the temporary art subcommittee meeting at all to work on our list of temporary art that we have to see if we are going to extend pieces or not extend pieces?
We're going to jump in, Gary?
Sorry.
I was just going to basically say, no, we have not been, because I've requested a few times to see a list that, because the whatever the file format was that came out months ago was something that I couldn't print out and or read. So, and I've requested a list that I could print out and or read. So I've not received one. So the subcommittee has never met.
So are you talking, so I had created an Excel file.
Yeah, which I couldn't print and or read.
So
it needs to be in some other format.
So maybe we'll have Jay send that again. And maybe I'll send it to you as a Word file as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'll send it as a PDF.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, send it out. I'll let you know if it's something we can print and read, and then Gary and I can arrange to sit down and look through it and make recommendations in our next meeting.
And Matthew was part of that committee as well.
Except at the moment, we can't be 3 people. So if Matthew and Gary want to do it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You can. It should be a noticed meeting anyway. So it's very easy to do a notice. Right. Just say you're going to work on it. It's one item.
Right.
So it's in, so you're talking about it in a public forum. So it could be as many people.
All right, well, I'll withdraw from the committee then.
I would say, Russell, I think you need to, you are aware of a lot of them, only because, you know, I don't have the history, and I don't know if the document even has the contract information, does it?
There are not contracts for a lot of the items, so yeah.
Okay.
I can withdraw my name and just let Russell and Gary take care of it.
Well, just to make a quick mention, because I don't want to beleaguer this, but when I did look at the list, which I couldn't print out, most of the things are like over with a done. So it should be a very simple thing to wrap up. So, but yeah, send the file and then we can figure out how to address it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so you did have it. Okay. So yeah, I know, because I sent it for a meeting. All right, so Stop in the Name of Love. Shonda, do you have anything?
No, not at this time. I'll update later.
So do you think you want to still continue with the program, or?
Yes, I'll have an update later.
So will you have an update at the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll have an update later.
Okay, so Parks and Recs.
As I mentioned, oh, I'm muted. Am I unmuted?
No, you're not.
We can hear you.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm speaking to the Parks Commission meeting on Monday about the Eco Art Walk Park concept, just to sort of bring them up to speed. And as I said, I'm going to explain to them that nothing's been written, nothing's been conceived. We just have an overall idea that we want to bring to fruition, and we want to make them aware of it.
Thank you so much, Gary. That's awesome. Art is everywhere.
A quick question to Gary. Gary, did you get the environmental art contest information?
Oh, what's that?
Okay, I'll send it to you.
I didn't get anything. Okay.
Art is Everywhere Neighborhood Grant Program. One thing I just wanted to kind of throw out there when I listened to the meeting, just so everyone knows, and I did talk to Barrett about this before I left. So what City Council approved, how they wrote up the grant program was that, and it's different from what we did last year. So they want our work as a commission to be consensus building and work by consensus. So they don't necessarily want commissioner-driven artist selections. So the way that we were able to get the grant program passed was someone fills, a neighborhood like Tockwitz Creek says we want to do a project. Barrett is running the program, and then he reaches out to them and says, hey, what are you kind of interested in? What is your timeline? Just something very brief. Barrett brings it to us and says, hey, commissioners, Tockwitz Creek wants to do a giant golf ball on par, whatever, hole 3 or something like that. And or they don't even have that something that specific. So Tockwitz Creek wants to showcase their neighborhood pride, or showcase, how important this neighborhood is. Something to bring to us to say, hey, Public Arts Commission, are you interested in working on a grant project for Tockwitz Creek? And then we vote on it. We say, hey, we're interested in that grant. And then we assign a couple commissioners to work on it with Tockwitz Creek. So we aren't presented with a fait accompli, like, here's a piece of art, here's this neighborhood that wants it, and vote on this project. They want it to be like a 2-step process. So they don't want anything to come from one commissioner that's all complete. They want us to say, hey, yeah, we'd like to work on the project. Hey, John and Dawn, you go work on it with Tockwitz Creek and bring us back a project that we can approve. So that's kind of how that grant program should work. So
I actually do have an update on Tockwitz Creek Golf neighborhood.
Awesome.
And I did mention this to the commission last month when we met, but I had not had a chance to meet with the president yet, but I have new details and a sense of what they want to do. I met with the president of that association last week. They're interested in working with a local metal artist in creating a large gateway piece to the neighborhood that is modeled after their blade signs on the street signs, which I thought was a cool idea. He's got an artist in mind that they've apparently already met and started talking. I'm hoping, I said it sounded like it might be possible for us to bring like a fully developed proposal to the commission next month. But he was going to meet with the artist, and I wanted to bring it up with you all today to just get a sense of if that was something you'd be interested in seeing. They're excited about the $5,000 that we can potentially support them with. They would be doing additional fundraising on their own to cover the extra cost. We talked about doing like a neighborhood event for either like a dedication or unveiling of the piece when it was completed. It would be on property that is city owned. That's actually part of the golf course. So one question that came up is, would it be possible for the city to cover the cost of any landscaping and lighting that they wanted to put on the piece so that it would be visible at night? To me, that sounded like a reasonable request, but I don't know what the process exactly would be for that.
We just have to ask City Council.
The one thing that we, the lighting part of it, I think in our ordinance, we can pay for, someone will have to double check, or I can double check. I think we can pay for landscaping around a piece of art, if it relates to it. And lighting, if we do any lighting, it's good for us to hopefully stay away from lighting, but if we do any lighting, we should write into it that we're we're not responsible for the maintenance of the lighting, that it has to be done by the city maintenance department, because we do not have the bandwidth at all to deal with lighting. So we were able to, you know, I met with Stacy, and she was able to take care of the lighting with Jungle Red, so we didn't have to add that to our list. So that's the only thing I would say about lighting. We add some verbiage if we do lighting that we wouldn't be maintaining it. But see, this is exactly what they want, Barrett, which is great. So you brought this idea. It's somewhat, you know, it's an idea that we can kind of say, hey, are we interested in that? And, you know, maybe we can just have a sense of the commission, if the commission's interested in it. And then you can kind of assign a few commissioners that are interested in it, or another one to work with you on it. So can we do that, Jay? Kind of have a sense of the commission that we'd like to move forward on it?
Yes. You know, it's just those details would have to be worked out as to what features are needed and who would be responsible for them.
Yeah, so we would give a sense of the commission that we want to move forward, and then Barrett would bring back, you know, a fuller proposal to vote on later. But this would kind of be our two-step process, which is what Cindy really wanted us to do.
And I think with the lighting, you know, I because it will add to the overall project cost, it would be nice if the city covered that so that our grant was going completely towards the art itself. So I think I will talk with the president of the association about how we can complete the budget and propose that the city cover that cost.
Yeah, because it's really kind of a city responsibility.
Yeah, and it's city property.
Yeah.
So is there already a site in mind?
Yeah, I believe it's the south entrance to the neighborhood off of Waverly, like as you're turning in.
And does it have an electrical line running there?
That I don't know.
Okay, so it's installation of the electrical, that would also be part of that. And then the ongoing, you know, you think it's something that could be picked up just with the regular electricity bill. So hopefully it's not anything too much.
Okay, thanks.
I think that's great. So what, does anyone have any comments, or do we want to get a sense of the commission who kind of wants to move forward with it if they think it's an idea to pursue?
I think it's a keen idea.
And I've already met with the president of the association, and I'm happy to continue working on the proposal.
So does anyone else have any comment or want to throw their consensus in to move forward?
I think anything we can do that engages the community is a win for all of us.
Okay, so that is 1, 2. Shonda, I'm a yes, move forward. I think it's amazing, and thank you so much, Barrett. So this is awesome. Shonda, do you have any a yay or nay on consensus?
I'll support whatever the commission supports with it. I'd like to have more information though.
Yeah, so they'll flesh out the project and then bring it back to us to vote on.
Yeah, and I would like to be able to do that at our June meeting. I haven't seen any other requests or ideas come in from neighborhood associations, but I'm going to try and talk to 1PS at their June meeting to spark more interest.
Awesome. So do you want anyone else do you want someone to help you? Does anyone else want to help Barrett on this?
I'm open to it. But there'll also hopefully be other grants for other commissioners to.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think this is fantastic. So this is the first one, and I think it's great. And so I thank you. So Main Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, may I back up just a moment?
Sure.
We were talking about the neighborhood grant program. That's where we are, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It's not a new grant, but I've received an email from the property owner at 205 East Sunny Dunes, where we have the temporary installation popsicles.
Yes.
And he has reached out to us to ask if we would consider an extension of that piece through the end of this year at least, so another 6 months. It's currently slated to end at the end of June, or go away at the end of June, but there will be no work done on the property probably until like a year from now. So what I would propose, and I've also reached out to the artist, he's willing to do another 6-month extension for $1,500, that we might consider doing that through the end of December, and that would allow us to consider perhaps another temporary installation in January of 23. So I just wanted to throw that out, and we would have to make it an agenda item in for our June meeting.
Okay, cool. So how is that holding up?
It looks quite fine. John was in town and made one minor repair to it. Other than that, it looks perfectly fine. I'm there every weekend.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely bring it for June. And
all right.
It's a great piece. So
yeah,
I didn't think it would hold up as long as it has.
I would support extending it, but can we take the funds not from the grant program pool?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a grant. So I would think we just
no, it's just going to be a separate item, but I just thought I would throw that up, being we're talking about sort of that in general. It's just renewal of an old one.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other neighborhood grant comments? How about Main Street?
Hi, just a brief update on Main Street. Some of this applies to us, some of it does not. Sidewalk vendors are permitted downtown. However, amplification is not permitted on public property. There was reference to a gentleman, I believe it was a gentleman downtown, who was singing and using the amplification, and the police have questioned him or tried to stop him several times. As far as tourism, the visitor center is undergoing a refresh. It's a paint refresh. They're updating the reception desk, and they're going to do, there's 2 murals going in. One is a modern travel, what he termed as a modern travel postcard mural. And even though these are murals, they're actually wraps. So if anything happens to it, they can take it down, repair it, and put a new wrap up.
Where is that?
What's that?
Where is that?
The tourist center at the entrance of Palm Springs, the visitor center.
Wow.
Going up to the tramway.
Yeah. Are they on the outside of the building?
I don't believe they're on the outside now. I know there's one on the inside already. So I believe the one currently exists. The new one that they're talking about, I think, is going to be on the inside. They also have city approval for that. They're also working on developing a cannabis travel strategy, because we have a lot of cannabis businesses here in Palm Springs, and they're trying to develop a travel strategy around that. Just FYI for everybody, the hotel and vacation rental taxes for 2019 were $25 million. In 2022 thus far, and we all know that's not over, it's $37.781 million. And at the end, there was a reminder that the Juneteenth celebration is coming up, and that's going to be on June 19th. And hopefully there will be a presentation of that at the next meeting, which I believe is June 7th. That's everything regarding Main Street.
And then you were also down here as downtown benches for the cleaning, but
we've already discussed that. I know some of the businesses were concerned because they heard a comment that you and I heard before, that one of the departments wanted to just paint out the benches. So they were concerned about that because they like the benches. They want the benches to stay. Several of them had really good input about, preserving the benches or having the artists come back to refresh the benches, which have been mentioned this evening. that's the only thing that I have to report on that.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. So, so commissioners' new ideas for projects. So Matthew, that is you.
Okay, everybody should have in front of them, and I apologize because I do agree with what Gary was talking. Probably involve more of the community in our proposals. And I do agree with that. But moving forward, the project that I'm proposing is a bronze bust of Lawrence Crossley, who we all know was the first Black resident who came here in 1924 and 1925. The Public Arts Commission mission statement states that the Public Arts Commission is dedicated to the cultural enrichment of our community. And I believe this statue will do just that in recognizing our first Black resident. Lawrence Crossley moved here from Louisiana, and I did a lot of research in this and really, quite frankly, was very moved by everything that was going on in our country at the time. In Louisiana at the time, they passed a bill, and I actually mentioned some of the stuff in the proposal. They weren't educating Blacks after the 5th grade. There were a lot of lynchings going on at the time. There was a lot of, the KKK had just moved into Louisiana, and within like a year or two had 75 different centers within Louisiana and the New Orleans area. So, and there was obviously a lot of racism at that time, but he moved here. He and his family moved here. His wife was named as Martha, and his daughter was named Marguerite at the time. He has another daughter, much younger. But they moved here to have a better life. And I think this bronze bust that I'm suggesting or recommending would acknowledge his courage, his perseverance, and also recognize his dignity. It would be, it's actually time. I think it's beyond time that we recognize our first Black resident to this Palm Springs area. Just to give you a little bit more history of what was going on here as far as monuments go, and I have it written down, in the United States alone, there's approximately 1,503 monuments to Confederate soldiers. 718 of those were commissioned by a bronze manufacturing firm on the East Coast. They still exist because the manufacturing company, their name was the Monumental Bronze Company. They stated that their bronzes would last, centuries. And bronzes do last a long period of time and require very little maintenance. However, the first statue dedicated to a Black person was done in the States in 1974, the first one. MLK came later on in 2011. To date, there are approximately 60 to 70 statues to individuals of the Black community that have built or impacted socially our country and economically our country. Only a few of those have been done by Black artists. So I think it's important that for us, we not only create this bust or this bronze, that we also have it done by a Black artist. The history of Palm Springs has recognized people that have been implemental or influenced our community here. And we've recognized those people in the past, whether it be through the Palm Springs Arts Commission, public donations, or the city itself, by having them recognized in bronze bust or full body statues. Several of those people only lived here part-time. Some of them retired here. This gentleman actually lived here full-time, and he was here to improve the community. He was invited into, he and his wife both were invited in to participate in the tribal ceremonies that were going on within the Agua Caliente tribe. No one else was. He also, at that time, was supporting the Mexican population that was here. They were workers, all workers in the hotel industries and the businesses that were coming up in downtown Palm Springs. He was also supportive of his own community because in 1930, I forget what their name was, but there was another Black family that moved into the Coachella Valley. I think it was Indio. So I really, really, really highly recommend that we do this bronze, we do this bust, we do this, and I'm using the word statue because prior to the proposal this evening or presenting it this evening, I actually asked the artist to give me an estimate for doing a full bronze statue of Lawrence Crossley. And I didn't give that pricing information out because I only had it yesterday and I didn't want to confuse everybody. The proposed bronze here that's in this plan would be $74,700. The full bronze statue, including the base and the plaque, would be $125,000. The location, actually, I do have the information about the Crossley Park that was mentioned earlier. And I know the area, because the area that he owned, he actually lived on Lawrence Street. There's a street named after his wife, Martha, and then there's another street named Marguerite. There's very small, in LA, we call them pocket parks. There's very small triangular pieces of triangular land in that area. That's where they proposed the park go. However, in this drawing that I have, you guys don't have a copy of it, but thank you, Jay, for forwarding this to me. They actually proposed an art piece be placed on Lawrence Crossley Road because the park was also proposed at the time of them proposing that the Golf Club Drive be renamed Lawrence Crossley Road, which was done, I think, in 2017. I actually looked at that place. That was my first choice. However, it's privately owned. And then all of a sudden I realized if people want to see this statue, they're going to be parking on the street, which is dangerous because there's no parking there. So I looked across the street at Tuckwitz Golf Course, which is city owned. It's rented out, but it's city owned. There's a parking lot there. There is the mound, which you see, you have a picture of, and that's where I propose the bust go because it literally is at the intersection of Lawrence Crossley and 34th Street. 34th Street heads directly to the tract of land that he owned and where he lived. And well, he didn't die there in 1962. He died at Desert Regional, but he lived there and his wife Martha lived there and passed away there. If there's any questions, I'm open to questions right now. And there's silence.
No, I was going to ask you why a bust and not a statue, but you've answered that. The one thing I said in the email is that I would think at this kind of cost, I think it's a great idea. I think for many reasons, Lawrence Crossley is very important to the city. And a price tag like this, they would probably want to do, but the city would probably want to do a call for artists or a request for proposals. So that's my one thing to throw in there. But I think it's a great idea. So what do other people think?
I feel like I've said a lot. My thinking, I've re-engineered or reframed how I'm approaching my role on the commission, and that I think that we can accept an idea and say, do we want to do something to honor the work of this revolutionary man? And I think for the most part, people would say, yes, we do. The question is how we get to that point. And I would ask that moving forward and even taking a step back with this proposal, let's bring it to the commission and come up with different ways to do it. And I'm not positive that a bust is the best way to do it. I'm not positive bronze is the best way to do it. I'm not positive the location is the best way to do it. It may be, I don't know. But I would feel more comfortable recommending this if all 6 members on the commission had a perspective, because then we're more apt to push it through rather than hemming and hawing and is this what we want to do. And I also think that this is one that we absolutely should go to council with before we even go this far, to ensure that we're not stepping on any toes for them of how, if maybe they're thinking of doing something to honor him in some capacity. I don't know.
Yeah.
And is this location the most ideal location? Who's the audience for this piece? I'm guessing the people who live in that neighborhood are already aware of his contributions. Maybe it's something that needs to be done at City Hall. Maybe it's something for the downtown park. So you're educating visitors to the city. I don't know. I don't have the answers to this. I think these are questions we should raise with every piece of art we do moving forward.
Yeah, because you think his relationship is to where the hospital is now, right? With the resort, forgetting the name of the hotel where he worked, where he ran the golf program, El Mirador. So the tower is left at, the tower is there at the hospital. So he really relates to that space. He also developed the, he was a developer prior to that development, the Crossley development, which originally belonged to Cathedral City. But he also developed the plot of land across from Ralph's. That mobile home park there was his development. He developed that prior to that. And then I think he also developed homes on Section 14. So he kind of touches like lots of different spaces in town as well. And that the Crossley tract is, is one of his later development works.
Also, too, regarding Section 14, I can add there, he did have what was described to me as military-style barracks that he rented out. I was told that he moved those, but as far as Section 14 goes, he was appointed as a liaison by one of the Riverside County judges at the time, whose name I cannot remember, to work with the Native tribe and work with Congress, because I think it was in 1874, 1876, there was a law passed that gave Native American tribes their land, but it was never really fulfilled, was never really acted upon. But because of Lawrence Crossley's work in the community, Native Americans were able to have 99-year leases instead of 2 to 5 year leases, which is why developers never wanted to develop anything, because they could only keep it there for 5 years. And now they can do it for 99. So he was implementable in doing that.
And Matthew, as I said, I think you did a great job with the proposal. I would just pull it back a bit. And I personally, as a public arts commissioner, I want to do something that the committee or the community responds to, rather than us going to the community saying, here's an idea, do you like it or not? I don't think it's our job to be the city historian. I think it's our job to sort of focus what the community asks for in a lot of ways. And I think if we can come up with some way of doing that in a broader sense that will impact and highlight what he's done, I think you'll have broad consensus within the commission.
And I agree with you that I think we can do that, but I think that this also we need to vet this out a bit amongst the council members to see if they even support the idea.
Yeah. And I think that that's a crucial step.
I think that's step 2. This was step 1.
Yeah, and one thing I'm just thinking if I had mentioned or should have thought to mention, I think in that meeting last week, the council did say that they would, try to provide us also with their work ideas for the year. right? So they would give us a little more information to go on versus reading their mind, right, on what they're interested in. So they would be more forthcoming with things that they're thinking about doing. So, so yeah, anything putting to them, it could be implemented in their work plan for the year.
Okay.
And Jay, do they work on that in the summer in August to be able to start?
You know, it's kind of a new process, this whole strategic visioning. I don't know if they've set a particular schedule for starting or even the priority order of, you know, which types of projects they start considering first. And as you know, August is typically a dark month for the council. So either they try to get it done quickly before August or it resumes, picks up after August.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of saying if we have some ideas to kind of, you know, if you don't want to send them in paper form, to kind of pick council's ears prior to July, you know, because they're starting to close up shop. Because then they can, you know, then it can be on their mind while they're getting ready for the new season's work.
So if I may,
yes,
a couple of comments. That Tracy, perhaps you and Matthew could approach a member of city council or the mayor to see what sort of interest they would have. Because I met with Matthew a couple of times on the early stage of this project. I'm in favor certainly of doing something that honors Lawrence Crossley. I'm not especially keen on the bronze bust idea. And I would like to see us pursue other avenues of representing his legacy and perhaps a different location that is a little bit more prominent. Matthew and I had met, we discussed the Jackie Lee Houston Plaza across from the convention center, which is part of section 14. So I would just like to have other options other than just a bronze bust and other locations.
Yeah, like the idea of representing him or doing something to honor him can be thought of in a different way, right? It doesn't have to be a bust, and you know, those, or it doesn't have to be a statue, right? Like it can be some other kind of representation of his work in the city and work for the city. So something more contemporary, some new way of representing him, to maybe get, you know, I'm not really a fan of busts either. Something that's more dynamic and kind of pushes that boundary of how you honor someone in a more contemporary way.
I'm writing all of these comments down. I think they're all valid. However, I'm going back to what was discussed earlier. I think we need to approach certain members, the mayor and certain council members, to get their input, because that's where the funding would be coming from.
Yeah, and especially with Lawrence Crossley, I don't know, maybe there's something in their hopper or something like that. I don't know, because he does come up a lot, right? Like in conversations about Palm Springs, and that he hasn't been honored. So someone might be thinking of doing something we don't know of. So I think that's a great idea. Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Matthew?
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much. I think it's a great idea, Matthew. So Gary.
Yes, the asphalt art, I sent that around, and I was fascinated when I saw it about Bloomberg Philanthropies and what they're doing and how it's impacted street safety. And Shonda immediately sent me a message and she said, I love this. Let's talk to the city chief police and find out the high impact intersections where this would work. And then if you listen to Mayor Middleton's State of the City, she talked about how street safety was a priority for her personally, and what they were doing with lowering the speed limits, and they were looking for things to do moving forward for street safety. So as I mentioned, Russell and I reached out to her office, and in this meeting now, we just got a confirmation of our meeting with the mayor, which will be next week. So again, we're just presenting the idea to her and saying this is something that we think is interesting. Is this the sort of thing you think we can move forward with and the city would embrace with this concept, either doing it in conjunction with Bloomberg Philanthropies or doing it on our own? But I think doing it with Bloomberg Philanthropies is the way to go because they have the expertise. And as part of their proposal, they will monitor everything for you and help guide your design and decision making.
Well, on one note on that, Lisa is the one that was the driver to reduce the speed limits. That was her, her project and her promotion and of that idea. So she's the perfect one for that. And they talked about that recently at one of the meetings when they announced that it was happening. Well, I think that's fantastic, Gary. So thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Gary?
Just to give Gary a heads up, at the Desert Highland Gateway Estates community, we have been talking about something similar to this for the Granada intersection, where there's a lot of activity of people just hanging out on the corner and shooting. I think there has been, I'm not sure if cameras have been put in or not, but the neighborhood was really interested in doing a mural or something of this extent on the ground to dissipate the energy that was happening.
As I said, when I saw this, I just thought this is perfect for so many aspects of Palm Springs. You know, we're the right size city and we have the street traffic and we have the pedestrians, and I think it could be very exciting if we can pull it off.
Awesome. Any other comments or questions for Gary? Thank you so much, Gary. So does anyone else want to pitch anything tonight? Pitch an idea? So if that's a no, Jay, do you have any report? And I have one question I forgot to ask you earlier today about, are they working on replacing our commissioner, or is that kind of on hold from the meeting last week with their discussion about commissions? And I would, if you guys haven't watched the meeting, I would watch it because it's not that long, actually. It's at the end of the meeting, and they kind of change up some of the recommendations and fill in a little some of the information. So I think it's really helpful. If you guys watch it, it will really kind of give you an idea of where we're at.
I think it's safe to assume it's on hold until they resolve that, the number of commissioners.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought. So yeah, so it seems like they're going to reduce some of the commissions. I don't know if they're going to reduce ours, but they're definitely going to reduce the large commissions. So is that all you have for us? Oh, Jay, you did have one other, we did have a question for Russell. Russell, it was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Michael Braun didn't give us a letter to extend the use of the pit.
This is correct.
So question for you, because that was going to be on council agenda, Jeff Pick's redo of the fault line, which we should pull.
Yeah, definitely that one gets pulled because I have some information that Michael Braun wants to do a different installation where the fault line is. So we can keep that one as status quo. I'm not sure why Michael Braun has not addressed the issue of the mural. I mean, it's not like a pressing thing. So I will reach out to him again. So neither the JevPIC money that we approved nor the Ryan Campbell should go to council until I have a more of a one-to-one with Michael Braun.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you was the Ryan Campbell, because I thought that was a city-owned wall. So I think we need to find that out as well, right? So we didn't ask him to extend the time for Ryan Campbell because that was supposed to go when we originally approved it ad infinitum, right? So the mural would be up when they built the building, it would still be there. But we wanted him to extend the use for the JevPIC thing. So is there, Jay, can we find out if we need his approval for the Ryan Campbell?
Yeah, just have to go back to the last agreement and double check. I mean, you know, we're talking about the thickness of paint and the wall. It's an interesting situation because it's the property line. So, you know, we have to double check how it was treated in the last agreement.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we need a letter for him or maybe we don't.
Yeah, correct.
Do you have anything else for us, Jay?
No, that's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. So, Commissioner comments. So if we don't have any commissioner comments, I just will give a comment that that we should have an exciting year next year. And I look forward to seeing who wants to run for office. And then if any help you need, let us know. So with that, I will adjourn our Public Arts Commission to our regular meeting on June 15th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. via teleconference. And let us know if you guys want to meet in July. It can always just be a quick business meeting of voting in new commission chair and co-chair and leave the work till September, just the day-to-day work. So let us know your kind of consensus on that. All right, and thank you, everybody.
Oh, wait a sec, that was your motion to adjourn? It needs a second and a vote?
Yes, so
I'll second
want to
that
give a
motion.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Enjoy your evening. Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.